So for those of us in Indiana, a lot of us have heard about Tecumseh, Prophetstown, and the 1795 Northwest Indian Wars. We had an eclipse yesterday. It was amazing. Full total eclipse. Over Fortville, we've not had one since 831 AD. Muslims were still conquering the Middle East at that time. Most of the European countries we know today didn't exist. So, Tecumseh's brother, Teniskawa or something like that, he was known as the Prophet. He lost an eye when he was young. He was always kind of lazy, a drunk, not a warrior at all. 1805, I think, he has this catatonic state. I guess he was either drunk or there's a couple of different stories about there, but people thought he was dead. When he woke up, he said he had had a vision from the Great Spirit, and the only way that the Indians were going to fight against the colonists that were coming in and taking their land, the settlers, which a substantial number of our families, founding families in Fortville did, he said if they didn't unite, they would lose. And Tecumseh had already been down with the Chickamauga at that time. They were down there in 1785. Tecumseh was down there starting to fight the colonists down in lower Tennessee. So they're in Indiana, and they're having this big discussion with William Henry Harrison, who at the time was the governor, later was the president of the U.S. He was president for 44 days, and then he died because he got a cold or something when he was at his inauguration. William Henry Harrison thought he was a badass. So he's having this discussion. He says, you know what? You guys keep talking about the Great Spirit and everything. If you can make the sun stop shining, if you can make the river stop running, then you'll know you have something from God. Other than that, we're coming in. And so the prophet says, okay, in 50 days, we're going to take out the sun. The Great Spirit will cover the sun. And sure enough, 50 days later, there was a total eclipse that was over the area. Now it went from southwest to northeast, and it missed Indiana by it missed Fortville by about 70 miles or so, I think. The thing is that neither the prophet nor Tecumseh knew how to read. There was not really a lot of science or even any news that was coming out for the settlers. And so there's the people that don't believe, that think that it was just, they must have heard something and put it in. William Henry Harrison was the governor of Indiana and did not know that the eclipse was coming. So 50 days later, the eclipse comes, and it was a long one. And then eventually, Tecumseh releases the Great Spirit, or asks the Great Spirit to recover the sun, and it comes back out. This changed everything for the Indians. This event is what caused the Confederacy to start happening and what made Prophetstown happen. The fact that there's prophecy from Indians that has come true has always been interesting to me. The other prophecy that I've talked about that just blows me away is when Tecumseh is down in Alabama, I think, and the Red Sticks wouldn't listen to him. And the Red Sticks, that's a whole other thing that is fantastic. But the Red Sticks wouldn't listen to him. So he says, fine, I'm going to go to Detroit. When I get there, I'm going to stomp my feet on the ground and your houses are going to fall down. And so the Red Sticks had calculated the number of days that it would take him. It was like 40 days, I think, to get to Detroit. And the morning of was the day of the New Madrid earthquake. And it knocked all their houses down. And they suddenly got very involved in the Confederacy and trying to kick out the whites. Imagine the eclipse that we had yesterday, but nobody knew it was coming, and some Indian foretells it who's been a drunk and has one eye and nobody listens to him. And yet it happened. It's a crazy story, and it involves Indiana. What do you think? Kind of cool, huh?